Hello everybody and welcome in for the final Stitch Tower event that we're going to do. I've already gone through Tower 1 and 2, I think everyone gets to see that enough. It's all kind of like more of the same. Tower 3 is at least the most challenging one, so we're just going to be jumping into this, and I want to talk about what this is and what this is going to mean for the future of towers to whatever else might come after this. So let me just throw Bubbles in here, let me throw Ursula in here, and then swap Panic and Pain for Hades. Now this is the team that I have pretty much been running for the last however long. This is like the most solid team that I can make for this. Before this, I didn't have Hercules there, and I think I was running Merlin and Hades, and it went alright. And then as soon as I got Hercules, I was kind of like, okay, well, obviously he's going to go and made things a whole lot easier. I still just don't use Panic and Pain because I can't auto with him. So I can still auto with this team up until about the halfway point. And I tried autoing right up to the end. If the AI just does silly things, then I've had it nearly lose a match. And I was like, no, I don't want that to happen. So I've still got to control the last few for me. Until, like, I would say, like, if Gantu was tier 8 and things like that, that'd be a big difference. But for me, that's all it needs. So I'm gonna, do I wanna? Yeah, why not? Alright, I wanna just trigger off Elsa as soon as I can. There she goes, and let's just explode everybody else. Let's just throw some oil. Now this should be able to go and do this. Alright, so for this being the last Stitch Tower event, I'm just going to control this whenever I need to. But for now I think it's pretty much just going to run itself. But for this being the last Stitch Tower event, I was quite surprised. Like when I first saw, I don't know if you guys got that or not from the last video, when this was all kind of announced, but I was quite surprised that it was just going to be disappearing. I had banked on the towers just being here, staying, and just being a thing that they're just pretty much always going to be there, because there is a natural progression in the towers. So Stitch Tower, you farm up the Bubbles and the Gantu, and then you farm it in such a way that you then, if you can get those characters plus Stitch, this prepares you and gets you ready for the Triton Tower, which is the very next tower. And then, hey, you've got, boom, look at this, I've got these 3 oceanic characters all ready to go. And then you add on the 2 new tower characters, boom, okay, I've got like the full team just stocked and standard ready to go. So that was always a thing. I was like, with new players starting the game, it was kind of like, hey, yeah, definitely go for the Stitch Towers, get Gantu and Bubbles, and maybe farm a couple of different other ones instead. But now that's all like starting to change, and it's just kind of like, actually, with this being the last Stitch Tower, it's kind of like, what do you actually prioritize now? What should we actually legitimately go for first, like, especially for newer players? I honestly wouldn't tell them to farm all of these characters, Gantu and Bubbles, straight away if it's not for the Stitch Tower. Stitch Tower does a whole lot. I'm just gonna go basics just for now, just because Maui can be a pain in the butt. So I want to try not to take him out straight away. But there's nothing else I can do about that, because she is already, I'll have to just do one big shot right about now. So let's give this over to Hades and see if he can I didn't want to have everyone sitting here for like 2 turns just cycling around, or my character cycling around while he's invincible. Okay, but back to the whole progression tower. I've lost a little bit of my train of thought. But for as far as the progression was, I wouldn't tell people to go and farm those characters without them being in the tower, without them giving themselves as the reward. Like, if you want to go and farm them on a side campaign, why would you go and farm those characters above others? There's a little bit of usefulness to them, but it doesn't give you anywhere near the reward that it used to. But on top of that, why would we want to do that for characters that are not going to be getting us as much rewards anymore? What will be the point? And then to compound on that, on that thought, it's just kind of like, well, you know what? Like, it's this is where it hits me hard. I think is for me, honestly, is kind of like, is there any reliability in the Triton Tower now? Triton Tower came, what, let's just say 3 months or so after the Stitch Tower. Does this mean, with the Stitch Tower disappearing, this being the last run, will this be meaning we might end up losing Triton Tower in another 3 months? That right there, I don't think anyone's thinking about or talking about. And that was one of the first things on my mind when I heard about Stitch leaving. Like, apart from all the resources lost and all the progression and things like that. Now, yes, I will admit, a lot of people will be like pulling their hair out, like, SHD, you're so, why are you even talking about that? There's gonna be a new replacing event. Yes, I completely agree, and I'll get to that. But just about this, like, this is the whole progression about being beginner friendly. It's losing a bit of that beginner friendly, especially if you lose the Triton Tower too and coming on. It's going to get to the stage where it's like, okay, these ones you would farm this progression to get to the next progression. That would help you. So farm the Stitch characters to get good rewards from towers, to progress you in the next tower to get more good rewards from towers. That's giving you your account some good rewards to gear up, to progress, to have a strong team, to also get the tower, the raid character in Triton, and have him just help you out in raids. And by having him to help you out in raids, all of that compounds down and helps your account progress. So that is like the whole full stock standard, like first 2 towers like intermingling and then sprouting out into like raids. It's all like one big whole thing of progression. And now that's starting to get taken away. It's like, if now you're gonna have to go out and farm these characters, but Bubbles, Scantu, Stitch in a side campaign, and it's not going to give you the extra rewards like we've been just talking about. That right there already makes it not quite as worth it. Now it's kind of like, okay, for the rest of that progression, that like it's taking away half of that little piece of the puzzle, and then you're only having like a little bit of extra rewards. But if we're expecting those ones to disappear, in another 3 months, that's a whole nother story. That's gonna open a whole nother bottle of canned fish with Gantu popping out saying, hey, you farmed me and now I'm in the trash. Because that's going to stifle things. So yes, there's a little bit we have to wait and see about this. That is a little bit, it is jumping to a few conclusions, and I do completely admit that. But as far as like the logic is pointing and the things that we've seen so far, unless there are some changes made and some things that are really going to happen, I think this is the way we are just looking for now. And that right there that's not, I don't think that's a great sign, especially for the new players that find this game and want to play. I think that's going to hamper their progression, but also for the mid-game players who have like recently started playing, or not recently, but like have focused on Stitch and now they're just moving on or nearly ready to move on. It gets to the stage like, wow, I invested all into this and that's getting taken away. Now things then like then you get to that stage where you're worrying about Trident Tower feeling safe. Now I'm gonna add in here, like I did in the other video, my thing is that I don't feel ripped off. I don't feel ripped off about this. I have went full out into the towers for the last year and more, and I've got plenty of good rewards from it, so I'm happy in myself for what I've invested. It's just all those thoughts were for the other side of people, those people who are struggling, those people who are investing into them, and now it's going to be pulled away, like slipped out from under the rug. That is the danger, and then with the potential for more towers in the future. Now that all being said, with a new game mode coming to replace Stitch Tower, whether it's a new game mode or a new tower, that hasn't been confirmed. I can neither confirm nor deny what it might be. I have a feeling. My feeling is that it might be a new tower, and I had a feeling when Lily, Frank came out and were announced as being 2-star characters. They kind of felt like they might be the new kind of tower characters. They just had that feeling being 2 stars. And then also Tiana is a kind of like, well, there's 3 characters. Maybe they're going to do like a 3-character tower. Or maybe it's just going to be a completely whole nother thing, and maybe they're nothing to do with it. That could be a thing. And for people who watch this video down in like another week's time, or in a couple of weeks' time, a month's time, and looking back at this, what Stitch Tower used to be, then they're going to be like, oh wow, okay, this is interesting. And you're completely wrong, SHD. Which could be the case. But I think it seems to me, it's just what it seems to me. It seems to me that they're going to give more end-game content, or more the next lot of progression content. Whether it's going to tie into the next new raid, whether it is going to tie into a new game event, which either of those could be an option. I don't know. But it's kind of like, hey, the progression is getting pulled away from what we have known. Now, also to do with that, the older characters, Stitch, Gantu, Bubbles and all that, they're kind of out of date. They're not really using top metas. So if people are not to get them, it's not going to be the end of the world. Not like, I don't want to be mean, but it's not the end of the world. They're not great. Just being honest, they kind of need like a bit of a buff or something. But with all of this, with how this is going, it's a bit of a hard one. Like, yes, new characters are 100% far better, and if it is a new tower that you can just go in and get these new characters, sure, it's going to be amazing. And it might get to the stage of like, you know what, if people are starting, just start on whatever the newest tower is and farm for that. It could be that way, because then whoever is starting, you know, just go get some good, decent characters that are going to do you well, that you're going to be able to farm and use and get the rewards for the next year. And that might just be the best option. So here's the last two towers, the last two things of the tower. That is a Stitch Tower right there. Let's have the last look at it that we're gonna get. We've opened the chest. We've got all of these. The last gear requirements for this are, and these are the lowest of all the towers. Although I think the next 2 towers are the same requirements. Gear 6 for these ones, and then Gear 7 for the very last one, with only the Hunchback Tower being a Gear 8 requirement on the last tower. So it's like the latest progression one that we have had. So there is definitely a bit about that. But This is also, you needed like mythicals. When this first came out, there was like pretty much no good mythicals. You'd be like having Hades. Like I said in the beginning, I started off using Hades and Merlin, and now people have the likes of like Panic and Pain and the Hercules crew, so it'll be a bit easier if people are farming those to actually get through this. But now this is gone anyway. For anyone who's watching in the future, it's gone. It's gone. And if with that being the case, with these towers disappearing, with these towers going, they're gone. It's all gone. It doesn't even matter anymore. But I wanted to get a record of what this was like, and I want to have my thoughts put down, so whatever happens in the future, we can either say I was right or I was terribly wrong. But we can wait and see with that. So right here, I gotta probably take this off order around about now, or else we are gonna end up getting slayed. So let me just, I want to put Elsa into stasis as fast as possible. Let me just give this to Hades. Boom. And I'm just gonna give this a bit of a bomb right about now. Let's get rid of all those other characters, not worried about that. Like, you can get to the stage where, like, if I was left on auto, like, my Hades could have ended up dying off, and that would not be not the end of the world, to be honest. Could use another mythical if you're like a new person playing this, or a newer account, and you only have like one set of teams that you can use, then that is absolutely terrible. If it's Bubbles or Gantu, the required characters that die off, that is terrible, because that's all you've got to play with. So let me just, I'm just gonna continue to auto this until Elsa is out and Olaf can keep spawning and spawning. Alright. Well, my character's just going nuts. Boom, there we go. Last hit. Ew. Slap it on there. So, with this being said, I remember back in the day, way back in the days, a little bit of history for everybody. This was back just after the Frozen meta, and Frozen were owning everything. Frozen were like the hardest team around, and then came Big Hero 6, and Big Hero 6 was like a nightmare. And this combining them was just like, come on, like, Blue, you know what you're doing. These OP characters, what are you doing? Like, this is the first glimpse of like Hero and all these kind of things. And then we move into like the next towers. Like, that whole progression it was killer back with the older characters. And now, as we said, it's not so bad. But it's all going to be interesting seeing what we have going forward. I'm looking forward to this new event, if it is a new tower, if it is those other new characters that were released that are going to be put into the towers. We will just have to wait and see. I'm going to be very interested, very interested to see what happens with this space. Watch this space. And I'd say at least in 2 weeks time, we might know this week with the next patch notes, or it might be 2 weeks time in the next rotation of Stitch's place. So they could easily move things around, or they could not. But we'll just have to wait and see. So here I'm just gonna, let's take this out, get rid of Bubbles. Alright, Stitch. I think it's the Triton Tower that I struggle, and I like on auto. I'm gonna make sure I control it. This one's not so bad because these characters are pretty absolutely solid. Should be nearly about time to be dropping off and dropping that pillar on everything. But there was once a day that this tower was a struggle, and I can see why. Like, there's a group of people in the game who have been doing this for the last year or so that are just tired of it. So I can see why it kind of needs to be retired for some. But I also wouldn't mind it staying for that progression point. But it is all going to depend on how things go and how it all sits for all of that. So we're going to have to wait and see for this one. interesting things worth to wait and see. But at the moment it's kind of looking like, hey, towers only have like a 1 year lifespan. Just over a year lifespan, I should say. So we could be looking at losing Triton soon. We could be looking at losing the Princess Rapunzel Tower in another, what, 8 months or so. Just things to consider if you are new and farming and getting into what should I do and things like that, with what should I be farming for. And I'm often helping people, often teaching people. They're coming to me asking me, who should I go for on each of these factions, what should I prioritize. And one thing for me was always Stitch Tower. Go for the Stitch Tower. It's going to get you characters to get to the Trident Tower. You can do both towers. You can double up on all the rewards and gear, progress your account. And I can't say that anymore. I can't knowingly say that. So we're going to wait and see what the next mode is, and then we'll just have to go from there. It's still going to be the best thing to do, or is it going to be best just to drop everything and go for the newest tower? The towers have got harder with like requiring princesses with like Quasimodo, and then to get tier 8 to finish, although you don't always need to finish a tower, like, as long as you're getting the rewards from them anyway. That is good, and you'll end up getting there if you stick to your farms. So there's a little bit of a give and take either way, either side of the fence. I'll miss the Stitch Tower. I can't wait to see what is coming next. This bad boy is going to be turning into a side campaign, so farewell Stitch. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I've had a nice little bit of a ramble while we've gone through and beaten this tower one last time, the final time before it disappears. So farewell Stitch. I can't wait to see what comes in your place, and we'll wait and see. And I want to hear from you guys, all you theory crafters, all you tinfoil hatters. Jump in the comments below. I'll see you down there.